When I was a kid, I was fortunate to have grandparents. I grew up with grandparents. And every spring, we used to go to their house for the Passover Seder. We with our cousins, and it was one of my fond memories of growing up, one of my great Jewish memories. And I remember my grandfather always sat at the Passover Seder with this little cushion and on his chair. And he didn't really use the cushion, he didn't lean on it or anything, it was just sort of next to or behind him. And I asked him once, Pop, why are you using this cushion? What's this for? He says to me, because my father had a cushion at the table, that's what I do. This is a powerful memory for me, because one day I hope that my children are going to ask me the following question. They're going to say, Dad, how do we know this stuff is true? How do we know our Jewish story is true? I mean, there's a lot of other stories out there. How do we know what our story is the right story, not someone else's story? I don't have any magic proofs for them. I don't have any kind of scientific evidence, anything like that. I only have one simple answer. The only reason I know the story's true is because every springtime, my grandfather used to sit me down at the table, make me eat this sort of flat, tasteless bread, and he told me the story. And you know what? I'm not sure he believed the story. I'm really not sure he believed it himself. But I know why he told it to me. Because his father told it to him, and his grandfather. And if you think about it, from grandfather to grandson, or grandmother to granddaughter, what's a typical gap in time? So let's say 70-year-old grandparent, 10-year-old grandchild, about 60 years. I think that's a reasonable gap in that chain of telling the story. So if you count 60-year gaps from Moses down to you and me, how many people are in that chain? 60-year gaps. About 55. Not very many. And then if you lop off the last 2/3, because the last 2,000 years or so, everybody agrees that the story we have hasn't changed. So the only real question is the first third, the first 1,000 years or so, did the story get corrupted? Then you're only talking about 18 people. 18 people in that chain. And not 18 people who are casually telling a story around the campfire that's going to get changed over time. 18 people who are copying a story by hand and telling it over orally as well, and who are very, very concerned about getting it right. For them, it has cosmic consequences if they get the story wrong. I think there's a very, very good chance that the story we have is very, very similar to the original story, originally what happened. And so that's why, for me, the whole concept of Judaism, the whole concept of being Jewish and being on a Jewish path is so connected to tradition and where we come from, and recognizing that we're not just blindly following simply because, this is just the way we do things, but we actually have a reason for it. Because I don't think that Christian parents lie to their children. And I don't think Muslim parents lie to their children or grandchildren. And just the same, I don't think that Jewish grandparents lie to their grandchildren. When they tell us the story that we were in Egypt and came out of Egypt, I believe it.